Hello again, and welcome back to Module 4, Lesson 2, Mindset and Accountability. This is one of my favorite topics, and I think one of the really, really important things for us as businesswomen and mums is just to have the right mindset and to have a support network to help with accountability. So let's dive on in. So what are we going to cover in this session? We're going to talk about mindset for success. We're going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about planning for success. We're going to talk about support networks, maintaining balance, and about keeping up your ongoing learning. So I just wanted to stress that mindset will probably be your number one challenge in your business. Um, there's a lot in the early days. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of challenges from time to time. There'll be challenges as you continue to work on your business. It can be discouraging sometimes if there's not enough work coming in, or if things taking a bit longer than you thought they were going to get off the ground. But you've made it this far. You've come up with a great idea for your business. You've worked through this many videos. You've probably been online and talked to other people about your ideas. You might even have secured your first clients. You've come a long way. You've got a lot of amazing skills, and I really believe that you can make an amazing business. So don't let mindset get in your way. And I wanted to remind you too that you have a tribe. So there are people who are really keen to see you succeed. It might be your family, your friends, other people who business communities, former colleagues or colleagues who want to see you succeed in your business. You've got people who support you. And even if you feel like you're all alone, there's the Facebook group for this course. So jump on in there. And if you feel like you need a community of supportive women who are going through the same sorts of things as you, jump in our Facebook group, share your stories, share your challenges, share what's holding you back, and get some support. It's really, really important to jump on top of these things and deal with the mindset things so you can keep moving on, because often it's our mindset that holds us back from achieving our goals. So I just wanted to remind you that there will be bad days, there will be challenges, but just don't let these things stop you from moving forward. You can do this. So I really like quotes, and I like this one here from Henry Ford. So it's whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. So a lot of the time we get stuck in this thing of, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard. But, often there's a way. And a lot of the time, I find that you can find that way or get encouragement by seeing other people who've done what you're wanting to do. So, if you want encouragement that you can do this kind of work with the freelance business, I can tell you it's possible because I've been there. I've worked from, getting very little work up to getting a really good sustainable income from freelance work. And I know lots of other people who have as well. And, talk about that. There'll be other women in this group who are going through the same things as you. So feel free to share where you're at in the group as well. But just remember that, your mindset is such an important part of being able to keep going and being able to make it. So that nice little quote from Henry Ford is a good reminder of that. And then down the bottom there, I've put maintaining unwavering faith. That's a term I came across from Hal Elrod in his Miracle Equation book. So he talks about maintaining unwavering faith that you'll be able to achieve your goals. So just being really confident in yourself that you will be able to get there. If you put in the effort, that you'll be able to get there. So that's what that's all about. And then just a more, I suppose, simplified version of that, just a no more buts kind of attitude. Like, we often think, oh, it's different for somebody else because of something else. It's different for them because they've got a supportive husband. It's different for them because their kids are older. I'd really like to do that, but I can't do that while I've got small children. I'd really like to have my own business, but I'm working, in a regular job. I haven't got the time. Just try and get around that and realize that, if you think you can't, you probably won't, because you're stuck in that mindset of sort of what's the point. So try and move on from that if that's where you are at now. Now, this is something else I thought would be quite helpful as well, because I found this really helpful for me as well. So, it's in terms of your thinking. So your thinking influences the way that you feel. So if you're really feeling positive and if you're if you've got really positive thoughts like I can do this, I can create this business, then you're going to feel really motivated and energetic, and then you're more likely to take the action that you need to take to achieve the results you want in your business. So if you think I'm going to find my first client using social media, then you're going to feel really positive about going on there and engaging in posts. And then you're going to spend that 5 minutes each day, talking to people in Facebook groups. And then eventually somebody in that group is going to say, oh, I could really do with your help. And then, that proves to you that it's possible. So your thinking is really good. So, you feel really positive about doing more of that. And then so you do it, and then you get more results. So it's kind of like this pattern of how your thinking influences your outcomes. So just another quote that I've popped in there, what you focus on expands. So, just again, coming back to the idea of, thinking positively about your business, thinking you can succeed and focusing on that rather than focusing on the challenges. So another one here, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. I'm not kind of trying to be negative about that, but like if you get stuck on something, then do something about it. Try and find a way to do it. There's just an infinite amount of information on the internet now. So when you get stuck with things, so often I find I'm having a problem with my computer and I can't fix it, and I'll be like texting my husband in frustration. He'll be saying, have you Googled it? And I'm like, oh, no, I should Google it. And then I Google it and I find a solution. I know one day I spent hours trying to sort my printer out and I couldn't get it to go. And Googling it, it said turn it off and back on again. And that seems like the most obvious solution, but it hadn't come to me. So I turned it off and back on again. And it went just fine. So, you know, don't let things like this make you get stuck. Find a solution. Again, come back to this group, talk to people in the Facebook group, and ask for help. Try and find another way if you're getting stuck. If Instagram's not working for you, try Facebook. If Facebook's not working for you, try TikTok. Whatever it is, there's usually a different way. And a big part of that is to keep learning. And you'll keep learning as time goes on. Where you are now will be completely different to where you are in a year's time, because you will have learned more about what your clients want. And so, you'll have a better idea. You might tweak your offerings. You'll have experience of how long things take. So that'll make it easier for your business planning. You'll keep learning over time. So just stay positive about it all. So again, Hal Elrod has a really great podcast called the Achieve Your Goals podcast. I quite enjoy his podcast. So and his books as well. So here's another quote that I picked up from Hal, and it's that there's nothing that says you have to settle for less than you truly want in any area just because other people do, or most people do, even if most people includes your friends, family, and colleagues. So I wanted to include this because often other family members don't understand, or friends don't understand what we're trying to do here. People are used to the normal. People are used to the 9 to 5 job, which is a regular job, whether it's 9 to 5 or not, just working a regular job for an employer and regular hours and doing normal things. People find what we're trying to do to be kind of unusual for some reason. I know when I was working full time and I had a conversation with my mum and I was sort of complaining, saying, there's got to be a better way. She's like, this is just life, you have to have a job. You just got to go to work and do what you got to do. And I was like, no, there has to be another way. There has to be a better way. But I think most people just accept, that's what we do. We go to work, we have an employer, we go to the office. And I wasn't prepared to accept that that was the only way to do it, and have found through persisting that there is a totally different way to do it that works so much better for me as a mum, and which isn't the regular job. But you can get discouraged by talking to other people who sort of make you feel like what you're doing is risky, or not worth the effort you're putting in. But I feel like sometimes you have to take that advice with a grain of salt, knowing that those people mean well, and just agree to disagree, and try and move forward with your business anyway, and find support find business support in areas where there's other people who do understand what you're trying to do. So, a couple of other things I wanted to talk about in terms of mindset for success. So again, realistic expectations is a big one. So I found it quite hard to start with, because often in this online world we're in, we see people who seem like overnight successes, and that can be really discouraging. And I find it discouraging sometimes. It takes, for me, it's taken quite a while to build up a a successful business, and yet you see people who seem like they're overnight sensations with huge followings, and like looks like they're bringing in lots of money, or really successful. But social media is, well, first of all, a lot of the time I don't think it's real, and even if it is real, you don't know what those people are doing to achieve that success. So it might be that, yes, that person's got 10,000 followers on Instagram, but they've also spent $20,000 on ads, so that might be different from your situation. Or they they had connections in other ways, so sometimes people have built up another business, and they managed to bring followers across, or things like that. So it can be quite different depending on the situation. And I think also sometimes you've got to remember, some of those overnight successes aren't necessarily overnight successes. There's a lot of people who've taken many, many years to build up their businesses. So even though it might seem like, wow, they're doing really, really well, it's actually taken them 20 years to get to that point. And sometimes what I found getting like sort of more into the online world was that I realized that quite a lot of the people who seemed like overnight successes, even if they might have had this particular business for 2 years, and they have a huge following online, but what I only realized after time was that that was that person's seventh business. That wasn't their first foray into business. So they might have had 6 other businesses that didn't work before they found this one that worked really well. So they had all that knowledge and experience from years and years of business. So you can't compare somebody else's business to yours. So you just do what's best for you in your situation, and be realistic about what you can achieve in your situation as well. One of the things that I wanted to note too was just about overwhelm. So it can get really overwhelming if you try and do too much. I think I've stressed this quite a lot as we've gone through, but don't try and be across every social media platform. Don't try and write a daily blog post if that's going to be too much for you. Don't try, you don't have to do this sort of keeping up with the Joneses thing to try and do what you think everybody else is doing. I've tried that. It doesn't work. It just results in you burning out. So don't do that. Try and also, I've found, with the world, well, what I did when I was trying to learn was that I signed up for all these things. And of course, social media being social media, once you Google that you want to learn about social media posting, or making videos on YouTube, or one thing I did was trying to find a simple way for scheduling my content, was that suddenly I started to get all these ads and things, advertising at all these different courses that you could do, and free courses, free, do my 3-day whatever challenge. So I was signing up for them all, and then I kind of got overwhelmed with that, because everybody tells you something different that you should do, and then you get all these emails. You get on the email list, and then suddenly you're getting an email every day from this course creator and another one from this social media person, and then your emails are full. You're spending all your time clearing out emails and that kind of thing. So be selective about what you do, because otherwise you'll just find, again, you get overwhelmed with all the different advice that you get. So, I mean, it's good continuing to learn, but just try not do too much, and don't spread yourself too thin. So just kind of try and focus yourself on the things that are most important for you to move forward with where you're at with your business right now. And remember, you don't have to do it all. So, and I think part of not doing it all is also just allowing yourself to, do what works for you. So, everything, all the advice that you get, just sort of pick out from it what works for you, because what works for one person won't necessarily work for you. And yeah, just make sure you do what's achievable for you. People might say, well, you need to spend 30 minutes a day doing social media engagement, and you're like, well, I can only do 5, so only do 5. Maybe they might think, well, actually, you get a lot more benefit out of 30, or maybe you will, but 30 might take away from being able to do paid work. So just focus on you and what works for you, and don't get distracted by all of the other noise. Okay, so this is another quote that I came across quite a while ago, from Thomas J. Watson. So what it's about is about trying new things. So, people are really, really scared of failure. And there's another book called Failing Forward, which is kind of a similar idea, is that the more you try, the more things you try, the more things you'll fail at. So, you've got to not allow these supposed failures to stop you from moving forward. So, for me, I was determined to find a way that I was going to work from home. And, I tried Amazon products. I tried, handmade baby products. I tried doing YouTube videos. I tried so many things. And none of those things got me to the point where I needed to be at, where I was making enough money to be able to work from home. But I was not going to give up on this goal of getting there. So, same for everything you do with this, it takes time. You won't always get it right. Your website might not be right. Your packages that you're offering might not be right. Your hourly rate might not be right. But don't think of those things as failures. Think about them as learning. And hopefully that will help you to learn, like to try new things, give things a go. If it doesn't work, move on. It doesn't have to be a disaster. If chances are, if you're here because you're not happy with the way things are at the moment, and the way you're working. So give it a shot. What do you have to lose? What's the worst thing that can happen? We're going to talk in another session about preparing yourself for quitting your day job. But I kind of think, what's the worst thing that can happen? For me, I don't want you to get to the point that I did, but where I felt like I had to quit my day job because it was so hard. And I wish I had to sort of set myself, well, I could have set myself up better before quitting my day job and sort of trying all these different business ideas. But in doing that and leaving my job, I sort of thought, well, what do I have to lose? I could come back. My boss said, well, you if you want to come back, get in touch. Don't hesitate to come back to us if you want to come back again. I could have got another job. I could have done something part-time to carry me over until I got going with my business, but just give new things a try, and you'll find that you'll learn a lot. So I've put in here a few books that I've enjoyed about mindset for success. So Who Moved My Cheese is a really good one. The Happiness Project was a good one that I enjoyed. The Miracle Morning and the Miracle Equation are two by Hal Elrod that were really good. And the last one that I put in there was The Little Engine Who Could. And that's not so much a mindset, well, personal development kind of book for adult. It's a children's book, but it was one from my childhood that kind of stuck with me throughout the years. And you might know it, might be familiar with it, but it's about a little train that or engine that gets the there's a broken down train and all the carriages need to get somewhere, and all these other trains that are big and strong go past and say, oh, I can't because I've got this, I can't because of this, I can't because of this. And then the little engine comes along and it sort of says, oh, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of carriages, like that might be really hard, but I think I can. And so the little engine puts the effort in and pulls the carriages over the hill, where all the other engines who were probably more capable didn't do it because for whatever reason they thought they couldn't. So it was a nice little children's story, but that I've read to my kids, and it was read to me obviously when I was a child, but just the idea behind it of sort of giving things a go, even though it might not seem like you're the strongest candidate or the best person for the job, you may very well be. So that kind of ties into this idea of limiting self-beliefs. So a lot of us have ideas as to why we shouldn't start a business, why we shouldn't do lots of things. Things like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have enough experience, I don't have enough time, lots of reasons, you limit yourself because of your thinking. So sometimes having your own business, a big part of that is overcoming your limiting self-beliefs so that you can be successful. So one of the things you can do is to talk about them. So talk about them in this group, talk about them in other Facebook groups, talk about them with your family or friends. So whether they really are limitations on you. I mean, most of us are, restricted in terms of our time. We think we don't have enough time to do anything else. But some of those outsourcing things I talked to you about, can you outsource some things so that you can make some more time? Can you offload some work or some household chores onto your partner or another person in your household that will help free you up some time? Could you stop watching Netflix? How could you make some time to start working towards this goal? Because sometimes it's sort of about taking baby steps. So, maybe you feel like you haven't got enough time, but could you make an hour each day by doing some little things like, turning off the notifications on your phone so that you don't spend hours or, precious minutes scrolling on Facebook or watching Netflix or whatever. I heard this thing once about, sort of filling in the gaps in your day. How can you make the time? Sometimes you might think, oh, I haven't got the time for social media, but a post could be done in 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be something that takes you hours to do. So it's something you can do in the gaps in your day. You can do it while you're sitting in the doctor's waiting room. You can do it while you're parked outside school waiting for the kids to finish. I often do social media posts when we're driving in the car somewhere, not while I'm driving, when my husband's driving, if we're driving somewhere. I'll do a quick, schedule a post on my social media thing just because it's a few minutes that I can make the most of. So, it's all about just figuring out how you can rather than thinking about why you can't. So a big part of it is taking action, sort of going back to that thought loop that I showed you earlier. So, once you've taken the action, it's going to help you to overcome your limiting self-beliefs because you can prove to yourself that actually you are able to do these things and you are able to make it work. Again, bring those things to the group, come into the Facebook group, don't be embarrassed. If you're having a challenge, the chances are that one or other of us in here will have been through the same thing or be going through the same thing. You know, it's that thing like I remember being told at university, you know, if you have a question, ask it, because the chances are there's somebody else in the room who wants to ask the same question that's too scared to do it. So put those questions out there. You know, we're not judging. It's you know, even if it's about how to juggle your personal life with your business. You know, most of us will be going through similar sorts of things as you are. Think about not why can't I, how can I? That's always been a big one for me. I think that was a Robert Kiyosaki thing that I read from Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was, you know, like he has this idea of um, turning things around and like not thinking about why can't you, but how can I do things. So turning it around into a positive um, is really important. So coming back to that time thing, creating time, you know, is there anything that you can drop or delegate or share with others? Can you outsource anything? Can you reduce life admin at all? Because often life admin is what, you know, takes up a lot of our time. You know, just being able to, if there's somebody else who can pick the kids up from school, you know, sometimes my mum, if she's free, will pick my boys up from school. And I can gain back a couple of hours in a day just by doing that. So, you know, maybe you're and like some schools offer a after school, you know, care thing. You know, would it be possible that your kids can go there a couple of days a week to buy you a few hours of time? It might be that the cost of them going there is actually a lot less than the amount you're able to make by them, you know, being there for a couple of hours. And it might also mean that your husband can pick the kids up, or your, you know, your partner can pick the kids up on the way home from work, rather than you having to make that drive to go pick them up from somewhere. So how can you reduce the amount of life admin that you have to do? How can you be more efficient? You know, are there, like I've found for me, I can be a lot more efficient with my time by doing things like ordering things online, you know, rather than going to the shops to pick up a birthday present. Yes, it might cost me a few dollars for a courier, but if I can get that just delivered to my house, it's going to save me the trip of going there, driving there, fluffing around at the shops, you know, wasting time. Can I be more efficient? Can I order my groceries online? Can I, you know, do things like that? That's going to save me the time of walking around the supermarket. You know, even things like meal planning can make your time more efficient. So you've got, you know, I plan a menu out for the week, usually on a Sunday or a Monday morning, so that I don't have to think about it every day or make multiple trips to the supermarket. At least that's the goal. And then that thing I mentioned, filling in the cracks in your day, you know, any little gaps of time that you can use effectively to help move forward with your business. And I saw that down the bottom. Did you know that people on average spend around 2 hours a day on social media? So, you know, if you really love spending time on social media, that's cool, but maybe you can think about spending some of that time differently. You might spend 1 hour on social media and spend the other time doing something else towards your business, or you might spend that time, you know, doing your social media posts for your business rather than just mindlessly scrolling through things or watching cat videos. So I'm not going to go into this too much, but goal setting is really important as well. So I've found, like I mentioned, planning and goal setting to be really helpful. I like using the SMART goal setting technique. There's lots of information about how to do that. So look at that. But it's really helpful to have sort of short-term goals, you know, medium-term goals, longer-term goals for your business. And often then breaking those down into tasks like we talked about previously is really helpful, so that you've got a list of things you can check off. So you have like your bigger goals of what you want to achieve, then your interim goals, and then, you know, your goals for this week, this day. And then you know, you might use some of those techniques I talked about previously about having tasks that are blocked to specific points in time so that you can start checking things off that you need to do. And I find it really helpful to have those goals visible. So something you might, you know, you can either put them on the wall or have a vision board or have them on your screen of your computer, you know, on your background of your computer, somewhere where they're visible and you're going to remember them and you're going to be able to keep coming back to them and amending them as you need to. And just checking in with yourself, because it's going to help to give you encouragement too as you achieve those goals in your business. And they can be really simple things like, consistently posting on your social media every day. And once you start to achieve those things, tick them off, you'll feel really, really positive about making progress on your business. Maintaining balance is another one I wanted to talk about, because it's quite tricky, especially when you work from home. And often in this day and age, we're in this world where we've got pings and notifications and things going off all the time. And our phones remind us, our phones send us things when someone, our apps and our emails. And so to maintain work-life balance as a freelancer, you need to try and avoid letting work encroach on all aspects of your life. And it can be quite hard. One thing I found quite helpful is, in terms of work-life balance, is to do that planning, like I mentioned earlier, with the calendar of the year, and sort of not taking on too much work, and the times when your family commitments are higher. So things like school holidays, planning around those things, but also having your device set up in such a way that you don't get notifications for work things all the time. So I don't get email notifications. I've got my work emails on my phone, so I can check them if I want to. But I don't have notifications, so I don't have a pop-up on my screen every time I get a work email come through, because otherwise the temptation is to look at it. So, limiting the number of notifications that you get so that your work doesn't interrupt your personal time. So it's a balance between using those applications to get organized and letting the notifications and things encroach too much on your life. Planning for breaks. So I think it's really important too, when you're working from home, to make sure you don't kind of treat every day like a solid work day. It can happen sometimes when you get busy and you lose track of your time, and then suddenly you got to go pick the kids up from school and you haven't had any lunch. I think sometimes it's good to treat it like a work day. So plan in time for the things you need to do, like having a lunch break, or maybe going for a walk, getting some fresh air. Plan for those things and make sure you factor them into your work day, because it can be really tempting. I find I struggle with this a lot myself, is that I want to do exercise, for example, but I feel guilty to take the time out because I've only got so many hours before the kids are going to be home. So I feel like I need to be really productive in the time that I have. But if you don't plan for that stuff, then again, it pushes you towards burnout. So make sure you're able to schedule that in for yourself. And, other things that you might like to consider, things like, some time out for meditation. There's lots of apps where you can do sort of little short meditations just to give you some time to focus. I find it quite helpful sometimes if I'm feeling stressed out to listen to relaxing music while I'm working. There's things on YouTube you can Google and find, or search on and find like focus music that you can have in the background. It's kind of like classical music or instrumental type music that can help you to try and focus if you're feeling a bit off. Networking is another way, because if often as a freelancer working from home, we don't have work colleagues like you would do at your job, so it can get a bit lonely sometimes. So it can be helpful. I had a group of friends, ladies who I met through business group actually, and we used to go on a regular walk, and that was really good, because it gave us an opportunity to get out and exercise, but also talk business and have someone else to bounce ideas off. So we just go for a walk and talk about what's working and what's not working, and give each other advice and help each other with a bit of planning and accountability. And that was really, really helpful as well, having that element of accountability where you've got someone who can, one of the things that we did for accountability was, we'd sort of talk together. We'd go for our walk, and then we'd spend a bit of time at a cafe afterwards talking about our goals for the week. And then the next week we could check in with each other and sort of see how we've gone, having accountability buddies like that. Or sometimes networking groups where you meet regularly, and you could do the same sort of thing where you can check in with each other and see how you're going. Some of the networking groups actually have that accountability aspect in there, where you have to account back for having I know there was one group that I went to where if you were a member of that group, you had to sort of do a certain number of meetups with other members in the group and talk business and that kind of thing within the month. So yeah, but allowing some time to do those sort of social activities outside of your regular work time will help maintain your sanity and prevent you from sort of getting into this feeling of being really on your own and isolated. And I should say too, it doesn't have to be your you time, doesn't have to be linked to your work. You know, it could be just a walk with a friend. And I mean, mine just happened to be that I formed friendships with people who had, you know, were working on their businesses as well. So that worked really well and enabled me to cover that accountability aspect. But, you know, if you're not looking after yourself, then it's ultimately going to make it a whole heap harder. So make sure you try and maintain that balance. Support networks, I've talked a little bit about accountability, partnerships, but it's really good to have someone you can check in with, help keep you accountable to your goals, and also to provide you with some support if you're struggling. So, you know, often having somebody else to bounce your ideas off, they can give you feedback on, you know, where you're getting stuck. They might have been through the same sorts of things as you have previously. So you might like to consider finding someone who you can have an accountability partnership with, like the one that I mentioned. Otherwise, I mean, you know, you can have accountability partnerships with people that don't have to even be doing the same thing. Their goals might be completely different to yours. It might not be business goals. It might be work goals. It might be exercise goals, weight loss goals. Who knows? But, you know, just a friend who you can have an accountability partnership with. I think I've mentioned quite a lot, but I've just touched upon it again here. Having a support network, so business groups, industry groups, you know, people where other, you know, places where other like-minded people are getting together. It's really helpful because a lot of the time, you know, your family and friends don't really understand what you're trying to do. So having those business groups where you can talk to people who are going through the same sorts of things are really, really helpful. And industry specific ones are really helpful too, because you know that people have a good understanding of the area that you're working in. And of course, just another reminder to come back to our coaching group if you need a support network that understands what you're going through. Okay, so I'm going to include in this module a goal setting worksheet. So that is going to just have some more details around that SMART goal setting to enable you to do a bit of work in that regard if you want to. And I've also just put in the link there to our Freelance Mama coaching group. So you can jump on over there if you're wanting a bit more support. Okay, so action station for this lesson. Have a bit of a think about if there's any areas of your mindset that you feel like need working on, and then try and think about if there's something you can do to overcome any challenges. If you get stuck on this, reach out in the group and ask for help, because mindset is that number one area that's going to get you stuck. And we want to help you overcome any mindset blocks as soon as you can. So don't sit alone and stewing over things. Come into the group and get some support or talk to somebody else. Make sure you jump online and find some local networking groups you can join in, especially if you're feeling lonely and like you want someone or a group of people who you can talk to about business, then find those groups. And if you're not able to go to in-person ones, then online ones can be really good. And sometimes there are online meetups where you actually can chat to people online as well. So it's not just like a Facebook group. They actually, one of the groups that I was in, particularly during lockdowns, we had online meetings where it was really lovely to catch up with other ladies and talk online as well. And you know, sometimes that too can open you up to the international aspect of having online meetups. So that's quite cool as well. And then finally, you might like to try and find yourself an accountability buddy or a business bestie who you can talk about your business with. And it's really nice. I found that if you can combine that with, you know, some of your other me time. So, you know, I quite enjoyed going for a weekly walk with my business besties and holding each other accountable and talking about business ideas and that kind of thing. So that was really nice to combine that element of getting out in the fresh air and getting some exercise with talking with people who are like-minded. Okay, so that is us for that lesson. And now we're going to move on to module 4, lesson 3, which is all about transitioning from your day job.